when we talk about people's wealth building, we talk about your annual savings. And so people have short-term savings where they have emergency funds, and then long-term savings where they may invest in stocks and bonds or even real estate or other assets, right? And so the liquid assets are the checking and savings accounts or money market accounts, and those are for short-term emergencies, right? The other two are long-term. But the real premise is, what is the underlying premise for all long-term savings that anybody does? In other words, why are you not giving up current enjoyment of your income? Well, the answer is to have income streams in retirement. And so it only makes sense to really understand how retirement income streams work so that we can direct the savings in a more efficient way. Okay? So it gives you more income at retirement, or screw that. Whenever you're ready to step away from your job or stop working. Or maybe that means freeing up your time so that you can volunteer your time and your energy and your money and your emotion to something completely different, something more meaningful, okay? But what is the objective? Is it to build up this giant nest egg or get to the top of the mountain and take a selfie? No, it's not. There are two sides of the mountain. And so in financial speak, what we talk about the climb up the mountain is your accumulation phase, or as you're nearing retirement even. More and more people who are getting close to retirement realize that they haven't hit that magic number. AIG used to have a great, or ING, sorry, used to have a great ad on TV that says, "What is your number?" And everybody had this magic number because they used to believe that they could spend that money down at a relatively high rate of spend down, okay? And so there are two different rates that make up this journey. In fact, this is a picture of Mount Everest, okay? One of the things we can key in on is that 75% of all deaths on Mount Everest happen on the way back down, on the descent back down the mountain. And the reason that they happen is because things change on the way back down. Either the weather changed, they had a whiteout, they had to stay up on the mountain for longer than expected, and they had to use more resources, more oxygen, more everything. So 75% of all deaths happen on the way back down. The reason is because they didn't pack the right equipment on the way up the mountain before they started their journey, okay? So understanding how those retirement or distribution rates of return or rates of distribution work, or income rates work, economically defines where we're going to put our money and how we're going to invest our wealth or save our wealth, all right? So how retirement assets react to fluctuating returns when money is being pulled out is one of the biggest problems that people have with outlasting their money or living longer than their wealth. So let's take a look at an example. In this example, we have the best 30 years of the S&P 500. And you can see over in the right-hand corner, it's between 1970 and 1999. Those were the best 30 years of the S&P 500. And so statistically speaking, they averaged about 14.8, almost 15% rate of return in the S&P 500. So if you had $1 million nest egg that you built up and you were averaging those rates of return during retirement, and you were spending that money down at $100,000 a year, that's only a 10% withdrawal rate. So if it's earning 15 and you're only spending it down at 10, that makes sense, okay? That totally makes sense. In fact, at the end of a 30-year retirement, that account has actually grown in size. But have you heard that joke about the statisticians, the three statisticians that went bow hunting? The first one shot 10 feet to the left. When they saw the buck, they shot 10 feet to the left. The second one shot 10 feet to the right. The third one jumped up and said, "Hey, we got him." That's the kind of same thinking as looking at average rates of return. Okay? Now, these are the actual rates of return of the best 30 years of the S&P 500. You can see 1970, it generated a 4% return. Then 71, it was up 14.3%. Then 18.9%. then it went down 14, then down 26. And if you look at all of those fluctuating rates of return and you're pulling money out for retirement, that's the biggest problem that most people may or may not see today. That's what we need to get them to see. So if you have that $1 million nest egg and you're spending it down at 10% a year or 100 grand a year, you're going to run out of money in between year 14 and 15 there. Okay? In fact, probably in year 14 you're out of money. You're going to spend it all. So how do you exist from that point forward? That's the challenge. Okay? And so most financial planners today run a software program where they run these Monte Carlo simulations that use rates of returns of all different types of vehicles over the last 100 years so that they can discover what is the withdrawal rate or the spend down rate of that account for the next 15, 20, 25, 30, 35 years. Okay? And so they call those the distribution curves or the withdrawal rate curves. Okay? Here's an example of those withdrawal rate curves. If you were to spend your money down at 8% a year, remember that $1 million nest egg? Think of it this way. If you spend your money down at 8% a year, that's 80 grand a year. So that's not even making 100 grand a year, which is what you're accustomed to making today. Okay? That's not including inflation or higher income taxes down the road, all of that stuff. But what you can see is that in the first 15 years of retirement, you only have a 60% chance of not running out of money. Actually, yeah, that's a 60% chance of not running out of money, which means on the flip side of that coin, there's a 40% chance that you will run out of money in the first 15 years of retirement. And as you move on down the road, 20 years into retirement, you only got a 25% probability of not running out of money before before year 20. That means 75% chance that you're going to run out of money at year 20 in retirement. So if you're retiring at age 65, that's at age 85. So what are you going to do at age 85? Go back to Walmart? That's basically what we teach people. Now I'm going to show you in another video the rest of the story.